Heartwarming twist. Single dad's incredible secret revealed after CEO's shocking bet to marry. Jake wiped the sweat from his brow, the Ohio sun beating down like a relentless enemy. A thin sheen of grease covered his hands as he bent over the hood of a rusting sedan, deep in concentration. To the world outside, he was just a mechanic in a small-town repair shop. But to his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, he was a hero. She often told him, "Daddy, you're my star." Little did they know, a new star was about to enter their lives, changing everything. Life as a single father was hard, with bills piling up and whispers of loser following him through the streets. Jake felt the weight of judgment pressing on his chest. Yet he never let it dim the light of hope he saw in Lily's big, bright eyes, especially when she shared her dreams of soaring through the stars. Their modest home overflowed with her colorful drawings of rocket ships and glittery galaxies, a testament to her imagination. Each day ended with him reading her bedtime stories about astronauts, his heart swelling with pride even as his own dreams drifted further away. One hot afternoon, as he tightened a bolt, the door swung open. In walked Ava, a sharply dressed woman who seemed out of place in the cozy little shop. She exuded confidence and an air of importance that rivaled the heat of the day. Little did Jake know, her arrival was more than just an unexpected visit. It would ignite a series of events that would reshape their lives. "Who's the mechanic here?" Ava called, scanning the room like she was judging a competition. "I need a car fixed, not a miracle." Her tone was sharp, almost insulting. Jake straightened, wiping his hands on a rag. "That DB me," he replied, masking irritation with professionalism. As they talked, Ava's guarded demeanor began to soften, revealing hints of curiosity beneath her corporate armor. But there was something else driving her. A bet among her colleagues that dared her to marry a common man within a month. Jake presented the notion of simplicity, blending seamlessly into the quaint backdrop of the town. She eyed him with playful challenge and thought, why not? Soon enough, the town buzzed with gossip. "What's that CEO doing with our Jake?" they murmured, leaning against porch railings. But they didn't know that Jake was much more than a mechanic. He was a respected figure among local veterans, tirelessly advocating for the community against economic injustices. This was his true character, hidden beneath the surface like gold in a muddy stream. As Ava tried to understand the rural customs, Jake fought to keep his dignity intact. Between awkward misunderstandings and comedic moments, a genuine bond began to form. With each flicker of connection, both felt the push and pull of emotions that echoed louder than their circumstances. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when Jake thought he was finding a balance between his duty to protect Lily and the allure of Ava's world, the phone rang. The voice on the other end brought devastating news about the veteran community he had supported for years. He could feel his heart race, knowing that his next move could either shatter the new life he was trying to build or finally bring stability. As he hung up, an overwhelming sense of urgency shattered his moment of happiness. Would he fight for the family he had or take a chance on love that could transform everything? Jake felt the weight of the world on his shoulders as he stared out the window of the shop, the phone still buzzing in his pocket. The news had hit him like a freight train. A beloved local veteran organization he had fought so hard to support was facing closure due to financial mismanagement. He knew too many families depended on it. Anger mixed with desperation swirled in his gut. He had to act, and fast. His thoughts flickered to Lily. The hurt in her eyes would shatter him if he failed to protect the community that had been their lifeline. She had always been his inspiration, a bright light during his darkest days. Taking a deep breath, he called Ava back, the woman's strength and determination giving him the stirring he needed. "Ava, we need to talk," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos in his mind. I just got some news. It's big, and I can't do this alone. Moments later, Ava arrived, her expression a mix of concern and confusion. The stark contrast between their worlds had never felt more pronounced. Jake motioned for her to follow him inside, unable to mask the urgency in his step. "What's going on?" she asked, arms crossed, partially defensive but mostly attentive. He recounted the details, feeling the weight of every word. "This community center is a lifeline. It's more than just a place. It's a support network for veterans and their families. If we don't do something, it could close for good." Ava listened, her face softening with each passing moment. "What can I do?" she asked, the tough exterior she initially wore beginning to crack under her true essence, the caring and capable woman beneath. "We need funding, partnerships, connections. Your experience, your business acumen, it could make the difference," he urged, desperation seeping into his voice. For the first time, Jake saw appreciation and admiration in Ava's eyes. "I didn't know you were involved in something so important," she said, her tone earnest and filled with respect. "I'm in. Let us save it." They spent the entire afternoon brainstorming, forming plans and potential partnerships. Woven between their discussions was a new understanding, a blending of their worlds. Ava stepped away from the polished veneer of corporate life, fully diving into the messy yet beautiful reality of community, and Jake found hope creeping back into his heart. Just as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows in the shop, Jake felt a sense of unity blossoming. Not only was he working towards saving a cherished organization, but he was also stepping closer to Ava, unraveling complications that threatened to keep them apart. Their laughter echoed through the garage as plans turned to possibility, revealing a bond they both had never anticipated. The peculiar tension of their unusual arrangement seemed to melt into genuine camaraderie, illuminating Jake's heart with warmth he thought he'd lost long ago. Suddenly, the phone rang. It was a number he didn't recognize. After a moment's hesitation, he answered, his heart pounding. "Is this Jake Collins?" a voice on the other end asked. There was a pause, then, "I have some information regarding the community center. You're going to want to hear this." Jake exchanged a worried glance with Ava. All the progress they had made felt momentarily suspended in the air, replaced by a heavy foreboding. "Can we meet tomorrow?" he asked, anticipation and dread intertwined. "Better make it tonight," the voice replied. "This is urgent." As Jake hung up, his heart raced. This was it, a moment that could change everything. Would they finally get the good news they desperately needed? Or was worse yet to come? Ava's eyes were wide with worry. What was that about? Jake took a deep breath, his mind racing through possibilities. "I don't know, but I have to find out." And with that, he knew their journey was only beginning. Jake's heart thudded in his chest, each beat echoing the urgency of the moment. Ava's expression flitted between confusion and concern, mirroring the turmoil in his own mind. He could feel the need to act gnawing at him, pulling him towards the door with a force he couldn't ignore. "Do you want to come with me?" he asked suddenly, the words tumbling out before he could think them through. Ava raised an eyebrow, her initial surprise quickly morphing into determination. "Of course I will. Let us see what they have to say." They moved like a coordinated unit, adrenaline fueling their steps. The night was darker than usual, the streetlights flickering like hesitant stars. Ava fell into stride beside him, the tension settling into a quiet understanding as they approached the cafe where they were meant to meet the mysterious caller. Nerves danced in Jake's stomach. This could be it, the breakthrough they needed. He stepped inside, scanning the shadows of the cozy cafe, finally spotting a figure at the end of the bar. A man in a worn leather jacket, his face obscured by the low light and the newspaper he seemed engrossed in. "Jake Collins?" The man's voice broke the comfortable hum of the cafe, sending Jake's gaze snapping to him as he and Ava approached. A tension-filled silence enveloped them. Jake felt Ava's hand brush against his, a subtle reminder they weren't in this alone. They took seats across from the man, who folded the newspaper and leaned forward, revealing sharp, calculating eyes. "I know about the community center," the man said, his voice low but confident. I can help you, but you'll need to follow some terms. What kind of terms? Jake asked, his heart racing as he prepared for the worst. The man smirked, leaning back comfortably. You're going to set up a charity event. Something big. I have the connections to get the funding, but you need to bring the community together. It has to be spectacular to draw attention. Otherwise, no deal. Jake felt a flicker of hope ignite, but doubt tempered it fast. What's the catch? The catch is simple, the man said, his eyes glimmering. You'll need to give me a chance to partner with you personally. The spotlight needs a face, and yours is perfect. Let people know you care, share your story, and they will rally. Trust me. Ava shifted in her chair, clearly noticing the shift in the air. And what story would that be? She asked, skepticism lacing her tone. The man shrugged, his demeanor unfazed. You're a single dad. You know the struggles, the sacrifices. People will connect to it. Authenticity is key. Jake struggled with the unexpected weight of the implication. His life wasn't just community activism and a budding partnership with Ava. It was also juggling school drop-offs and soccer practice, along with sleepless nights. Would he be willing to expose that vulnerability? The silence grew heavy as he evaluated his options. Seemed like a gamble, but what did he have to lose? Families were at stake. He glanced at Ava, her expression shifting from skepticism to something softer, perhaps even encouraging. Jake, if this could work, she started, but he found himself cutting her off, the decision solidifying within him. All right, I'll do it. I'll let the world in. But I need your unfiltered support every step of the way, he said, locking eyes with Ava. He could see the fire ignite in her eyes, not just for the community but for him. As the man nodded and jotted down notes, Jake felt both excitement and fear twist together. This journey demanded everything from him, and the stakes had never been higher. But for his community, for Lily, and for the future he was beginning to build with Ava, he was willing to lay it all bare. Just as the man stood to leave, he turned back to them with a grin. You've just opened the door to a whole new world. Jake, just wait till you see what comes next. But as the man walked out and the cafe dimmed around them, Jake could only feel a swell of uncertainty. What did it really mean to share his life? How deep would the scrutiny go? Ava placed a reassuring hand on his back. We'll figure this out together, she said softly. Yet there was an edge of worry in her voice, and Jake knew the real question lay ahead. Could he truly expose himself while also guarding the ones he loved? The path ahead was murky, but he resolved to step forward, even as fear and hope battled for dominance in his heart. Jake stood up from the table, still feeling the weight of the man's proposition lingering like thick fog in the air. He hesitated just a moment before catching Ava's eye, and the shared look said it all, a mix of anxiety and commitment. They were in this together now. What's our first step? Ava asked, her resolve freshly molded in the soft light of the cafe. Jake could see the shine of determination in her eyes, and it fanned the flickering flame of hope in his own heart. We need to rally the community, he said, his voice growing stronger. If we want this event to work, we need to get everyone on board. Ava nodded, her thoughts racing. We could start by reaching out to the parents at Lily's school. They're passionate about the center. Yeah, and we can create a social media page, Jake added, brainstorming as they walked to the door. We need to share our vision. Let people know what we're trying to achieve. Once outside, the cool night air hit them, invigorating and refreshing. Streetlights lit their way, and ever so slowly, Jake felt the adrenaline shift from anxiety to excitement. They walked through the quiet streets, discussing ideas and plans, the weight of implications slowly morphing into possibility. The next day, they sat in Ava's living room, papers sprawled out around them. Let us outline everything we want to include in the event, Jake proposed, gesturing to the empty whiteboard standing in the corner. Ava smiled, her energy contagious. How about we start with the theme? Something that captures both our community spirit and the urgency of what's at stake. Jake's mind raced. What about Together We Rise? It reflects the idea that we can only lift each other up if we work as one. I love it. Ava beamed, twirling a marker between her fingers. And it connects to our stories too. Everyone has struggles. But when we come together, we can face them. As they brainstormed ideas for activities, food, and entertainment, the conversation began to flow seamlessly. Their faces lit up with enthusiasm. Jake couldn't help but think how right it felt to work with Ava, her passion fueling his own and washing away doubts. But just as excitement filled the air, Jake's phone buzzed sharply, breaking him from the moment. He glanced at the screen. It was a reminder about the school board meeting that evening. His stomach twisted. "How could I forget?" he uttered, grimacing. "What's wrong?" Ava asked, her eyes narrowing in concern. "I've got to talk about the community center funding," he admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. "I'm supposed to present a proposal. I've been so focused on the charity event, I didn't even put together my notes." Ava placed a hand over his, grounding him. "We can do this. You're already passionate about this topic. It's part of what got you into this in the first place." Jake's heart pounded. "I don't want to fail at this too. What if they don't take me seriously? If they see your heart, they will," she assured him, her voice steady. "You care deeply about this community. Just be yourself." He drew a deep breath, feeling both gratitude and anxiety swirl. "You really think so?" "I know so. Now let us get those notes together. You have a meeting to crush," she said with a confident grin as they worked together. Jake found his confidence steadily rising like the sun breaking through heavy clouds. Soon, he felt ready to face the board and articulate his vision. But as the evening approached, a gnawing anxiety nestled in his gut. What if the board didn't respond the way he hoped? The hour drawing near, he glanced at Ava. "What if they make demands? What if they ask me to compromise?" Ava leaned closer, her voice a firm whisper. "Jake, you owe it to yourself and this community to be honest. Don't let fear hold you back now." With the clock ticking, Jake felt the unyielding weight of the choice ahead. He wasn't just representing himself anymore. He was fighting for his daughter, for the community center, and for a future that could be brighter. But when he stepped into that meeting room, would everything he shared truly come from his heart? And would the price of vulnerability prove too high if he failed to defend it? As the clock hit 7, the boardroom filled with 15 faces staring back at him. With his heart pounding in his chest, he took a deep breath and stepped forward, ready to lay it all on the line. What if his greatest vulnerability turned into his greatest strength? Jake stood at the front of the boardroom, the fluorescent lights buzzing above, momentarily blinding him and amplifying the pounding in his chest. 15 faces leaned in with expectation, that mix of curiosity and judgment scrutinizing him. He could almost hear the collective heartbeat of the room syncing with his own as he cleared his throat. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he began, feeling the walls close in even tighter. "I want to talk about the community center and what it means to us." He tried to lock eyes with Ava, who was standing at the back, her supportive presence like a lighthouse cutting through his storm. He plunged into the details of the funding issues, outlining the challenges they faced. The words spilled forth, each one feeling heavy but necessary, revealing not just facts but the passion that fueled his desire to help. The center isn't just a building. It's a safe haven for children, a place for families to gather. It's a symbol of hope for our community. The room was eerily quiet, and each breath felt like an eternity. He glanced at the board members. Some made notes, others exchanged looks. Was their interest piqued, or were they just bored? He pressed on, recalling countless stories shared between walls that had witnessed laughter and heartache. "Last week, I spoke to a single mother who feared for her children's future. She told me that without the community center, she wouldn't know where to turn. And that struck me. That's what we're fighting for. A brighter future for families like hers." He saw a few heads nod along, a flicker of empathy perhaps igniting in their eyes. But then he noticed a frown from the head of the board. A wall of apprehension settled back in, as if she were ready to challenge him. "Jake," she said, her voice sharp and clear, "we appreciate your passion, but we need to see the numbers. What guarantees can you make regarding our investment?" A knot twisted tighter in Jake's stomach. The pressure to provide answers felt unbearable. "I believe that with the right funding, We can deploy programs that not only stand on their own but inspire community involvement. But can you assure us that those programs won't result in losses? She pressed, her brow furrowing. And what if the community does not respond as you anticipate? He took a moment, weighing her skepticism. I can't promise you that we won't encounter setbacks, but I can promise you that we won't give up. My daughter deserves this, and so do all the others like her. The silence hung in the air like an unfinished sentence. Jake felt a surge of adrenaline. Sure, he was nervous, but there was something profoundly freeing about laying it all bare. He caught Ava's gaze again, the warmth in her eyes reassuring him. With every ounce of courage he had, he continued, "This isn't just about dollars and cents for me, this is about lives. I want us to be a beacon for families. I want us to show what it means to care. And if you all can see this vision with me," he hesitated, searching for the right words, "then together we can truly rise." When the meeting finally drew to a close, there was an unexpected murmur of conversation. Faces that had seemed so stern now mingled with intrigue. As he stepped back, a few board members rushed forward with questions. His heart fluttered in disbelief. Could this be happening? Ava joined him, her smile radiant as she whispered, "You did it, Jake. You spoke from the heart." Jake felt overwhelmed by relief mixed with exhilaration. But the uncertainty still tapped at the corners of his mind. Was it enough? Just then, the head board member approached again, her demeanor surprisingly softer now. "Jake, we need to discuss some of your proposals further. Can you meet with us next week?" Joy bubbled in his chest, but it was quickly replaced with the realization that this was only the beginning. What would happen if the board's demands grew beyond his comfort zone? And if funding was approved, would he be able to deliver on the promise he'd made? As he walked out of the boardroom, Ava beside him, a new energy surged through him, but in the back of his mind, lingering doubts formed shadows that threatened to overshadow his newfound hope. Would this flicker of possibility ignite into a flame, or would it extinguish before he could truly grasp it? The sun slipped below the horizon, leaving a horizon painted in shades of uncertainty, and Jake knew he was on the brink of something transformative. If only he could navigate the rough waters ahead. The next week came in a blur of preparation and anxiety. Jake felt like he was riding a roller coaster, each twist and turn sending his stomach into knots. The meeting with the board loomed over him like a thundercloud, threatening to unleash a storm. Every day, he rehearsed his ideas, his notes filled with scribbles and reminders. But as the day approached, those did little to calm the simmering dread. Ava sensed his unease and stood as his anchor. "You've got this," she assured him one morning as they sat on his porch, the sun rising slowly over the houses. "Just remember why you're doing this." Her words hung in the air, grounding him momentarily. "It's just what if they don't see it the way you do?" he confessed, glancing at the street where children played. "What if they don't believe in the impact we could have?" "Jake, you've already inspired them," she encouraged, her eyes sparkling with determination. "You just need to deliver on your vision. They'll rally behind you." The boardroom felt different this time. The fluorescent lights buzzed again, but the atmosphere was no longer suffocating. Jake glanced around to find more friendly faces than before. Hope flared within him, and he pushed aside the nagging doubts that had clouded his mind. When he began to speak, he felt a newfound strength in his voice. "Thank you for meeting with me again. I believe we stand at a crossroads. I want to share a proposal that not only addresses funding, but also incorporates strategies to ensure our community center thrives." The head board member listened intently, her expression visibly more engaged. Slowly, he unfolded his strategy, highlighting not only the projected numbers, but also success stories from other community centers across the country. The passion that once barely flickered inside him roared to life as he spoke about the programs and opportunities this project could create. Halfway through, he noticed a few nodding heads, and a surge of optimism surged through him. Maybe this time would be different. After he finished, the board members convened to discuss in hushed tones. The weight of their scrutiny felt less oppressive now, and just when he thought he might lose his nerve, the head of the board stood up. "Jake, We appreciate your comprehensive and heartfelt proposal. She began, a smile curling her lips. We see the vision you've painted, but we want to know what you're willing to invest personally in this project. Jake's heart stuttered. What do you mean? You're an integral part of this initiative, she explained. What will you put on the line? Not just numbers, but your commitment, something that shows us you're in this for the long haul. He blinked, the air thickening with pressure. This wasn't what he had expected. I'll commit my time, my effort, and the promise that I won't give up. But what else? She pressed, urging him to dig deeper. The question looped in his mind, exposing him to the unsettling truth he had buried deep. He thought of his daughter, her innocence and belief in him, the risks, the sacrifices he had already made. He opened his mouth to reply, but the words felt heavy on his tongue. A voice echoed from the back. Ava. Jake's already invested so much, she said, stepping forward. The room quieted, all eyes on her. He's not just a father. He's a warrior for this community, and that alone speaks volumes. But he can't do this without your trust too. Jake shot her a look, an electric blend of gratitude and panic. But there was something empowering in her conviction. Suddenly, it felt less like he was standing alone, and more like they were all in this together. The board members exchanged thoughtful glances, a new dialogue sparking between them as he prepared to respond. Something deep within him shifted. What if he bared his soul in this moment? What if he revealed the truth about his struggles and motivations? Could vulnerability become his greatest strength? With a breath, he gathered his thoughts, ready to dive into something deeper than numbers, truths that could bind them all. But before he could speak, a loud crash echoed through the room. The door swung wide open, and a figure stumbled in, breathless and wide-eyed. I didn't know where else to go. I need help. Everything in that moment froze. Jake's heart raced as he faced this unexpected disruption. A whirlwind of uncertainty sweeping over the room once more. Who had just walked in, and what did they mean for his fight forward? In that instant, he realized the battle for the community center wasn't just about funding. It was about real lives, real stories all intertwined in the fabric of this community. Would this new arrival alter his chances? Or was it just the spark he needed to propel him further? The room buzzed with an anxious energy as they all turned to see who had burst in. Jake's throat tightened. A woman stood there, her face pale and her eyes wide with fear, tears trailing down her cheeks. He recognized her as Lily, one of the mothers who had attended the center but had recently pulled away, her face a blur in his memories of meetings. Lily, what's wrong? He asked, stepping forward instinctively, the proposal momentarily forgotten. I don't know where else to go, she gasped, her voice trembling. I thought I could make it on my own. But they're threatening to take my kids. I need help. Jake. The board members shifted uncomfortably, the atmosphere thick with tension. All eyes were now on Jake, assessing how he would respond to this sudden interruption. Taking a deep breath, Jake moved closer to Lily. Sit down. We'll figure this out together, he urged, gentle but firm. He turned to the board, desperate to keep the momentum from completely derailing. This is exactly why the community center is so important. It's a lifeline, a support network. The board looked at each other, uncertainty clouding their expressions. But Jake's words rang with weight. He could see that some were beginning to reconsider their priorities. Lily's story isn't unique. We can't just think about spreadsheets and budgets. We need to think about the people behind those numbers. Lily nodded, the panic in her eyes slowly being replaced by gratitude for his support. He felt a swell of protectiveness for her and all the families facing struggles just like hers. This was bigger than him, bigger than funding. This was about saving lives. The board chairwoman cleared her throat. Jake, while we want to help the community, we also need to focus on the sustainability of the center, she said diplomatically. It's just this is all a lot to take in. It is a lot, Jake replied, keeping his voice steady, though inside he was wrestling with emotions. But if we don't act, we're letting families like Lily's slip through our fingers. We can't afford to turn our backs on them. If you want to see where our commitment lies, look at her. Look at the faces that depend on us. The board exchanged glances, the room filled with murmurs. Somewhere among the doubt, Jake sensed a flicker of change. That's a compelling point, Jake. Another board member chimed in cautiously. But what can we possibly do in the immediate term? His heart raced as ideas poured into his mind. We can start by bringing in legal aid. Offer workshops on budgeting and job searching. Empower them to stand on their own, while also creating a safe space for their families. We could even hold community fundraisers, Jake. The chairwoman interrupted gently. Those are great ideas, but funds are tight. We need to consider what we can realistically commit to. Jake's pulse quickened. It was now or never. I'll match any commitment you make personally. I'll volunteer my nights. I'll bring in resources and partners from my network. My time, my connections, whatever it takes. Murmurs floated around the room. He watched as faces grew serious, the seriousness of what he was proposing resonating. Ava moved closer by his side, her hand brushing against his arm, grounding him. You're not just asking for help. You're putting everything on the line for this. Jake nodded, feeling the weight of her support. Just then, Lily, still trembling, chimed in. I know things are tough for everyone, but the community center gave me hope. It helped me when I was at my lowest. I need that place to stay open, for my kids to have that hope. Her words struck a chord. The tension shifted, the board visibly weighing the urgency of the situation. When Jake caught the chairwoman's eye, he pleaded silently. They stood at this powerful crossroads, an opportunity shimmering before them. Let us vote, she finally said, determination setting in her features. Jake's heart hammered as the looming question lingered in the air. Would they seize this moment of change, or let it pass by? As the board members began to raise their hands, each decision about to be made wrapped itself around Jake's hope for the center, for Lily, and for the lives they could still impact. Just as the votes started to unfold, the door creaked open again, and a man stepped in, his expression grim and full of chaos. You all need to listen, there's bigger trouble coming. The room went silent once more, and Jake could hardly breathe. What now? Would this new twist threaten everything he had fought for? Jake's heart sank at the man's words. The words hung in the air like a storm cloud, threatening to unleash chaos. He couldn't let that happen, not now, not when they were on the brink of something so crucial. Who are you? Jake asked, looking directly at the man. What trouble are you talking about? The man, with disheveled hair and sweat-streaked cheeks, shifted uncomfortably, glancing around as if weighing how much to share. My name is Ryan. I just came from the social services office. They're tightening their grip on families with financial hardships. There's a sweep happening, and if we don't act fast, they're gonna send social workers to take kids today. Gasps echoed through the room. Lily's face paled, and Jake could sense the tension rising again, thickening the air. Ava instinctively clutched Jake's arm tighter, her eyes wide. Is this for real? Jake pressed, urgency brimming in his voice. What do we need to do? Time is running out. They'll start visiting families soon, Ryan replied, his brow furrowing deeply. You need to mobilize, get resources together quickly. They're not just looking at single mothers like Lily. They're targeting anyone who has fallen behind. Jake's mind raced. We can gather families. Host an emergency meeting at the center. Inform them of their rights, help them understand the process. But we need to act now. I'll help, Ryan interrupted. I can get flyers printed, spread the word. We can do this. The board members shifted uncomfortably, their earlier consensus now wavering. The reality of the situation suddenly felt more tangible. We can't get involved in legal matters. That could put us at risk, one member said hesitantly. Jake felt a surge of anger. How could they hesitate when lives were at stake? What's at risk is turning our backs on these families. Our purpose is to stand with them, to support them. If we don't protect them now, who will? Lily, who had been silent, suddenly spoke up, her voice fierce. You can't let fear stop you. This is about our children. You tell them they're doing their jobs, taking kids for paperwork or budgets. But what about the love and care they deserve? What about my kids? Tears streamed down her face, But within her pain was a strength that seemed to ignite something in the room. Ryan nodded in agreement. That's it. We need to make them see these families as real people, living and fighting for their kids, not just cases to be dismissed. Jake turned back to the board members, his own heart pounding. If we can build a coalition quickly, we can show social services we care. We can generate noise, a movement that demonstrates they can't just waltz in and sweep us away. Together, we can make a stand. One board member raised a hand cautiously. What if we consider a strategy where we collaborate with local businesses for resources and funding? If you get the community involved, we can show them the center's worth. The board seemed to deliberate, faces shifting from uncertainty to dawning realization. Yes, Jake exclaimed, adrenaline coursing through him. That's it. Let us show them our strength. He turned to Ryan, who was watching intently. You'll help, right? Absolutely. Ryan replied with urgency, determination flashing in his eyes. As they rallied together, planning beyond the immediate danger, a sense of camaraderie formed. Jake could feel the energy building, a mix of hope, fear, and resilience. But just as they started to organize, an unfamiliar voice boomed from the hallway. Jake, get in here. You need to see this. Jake's heart lurched at the tone. It sounded foreboding. Without a second thought, he motioned for the group to wait, stepping away from the board. Fear gripped him as he approached the open door. What had just shifted? Was the chaos overwhelming every effort they had made? A chill ran down Jake's spine as he peered beyond the threshold, feeling the weight of something even bigger lurking in the shadows. What could possibly be waiting for him now? Jake stepped into the hallway, his pulse racing as adrenaline coursed through him. The voice calling his name belonged to Mark, the center's director. Mark stood at the far end, his face pale, worry etched deep in the lines of his forehead. What is it, Mark? Jake asked, trying to suppress the anxiety creeping into his voice. Mark glanced around, as if to ensure they were alone, then leaned closer. It's happening faster than we thought. I just received a call from a parent. Social workers are already at her home. Panic surged through Jake's chest. What? You've got to be kidding me. It felt like the ground beneath him was crumbling. Families were already facing the agency's harsh reality. Did she have a chance to gather her things? Not yet, Mark said, shaking his head. They showed up unannounced. If we don't get there, she's in danger, Jake. Jake's heart raced as images flooded his mind. Children being separated from families, lives upended. He couldn't let that happen. Not today. He turned back to the room, where everyone waited anxiously. We need to move now. Grab whatever resources we can, signs, flyers, anything. We need to head to her house to show solidarity. Lily stepped forward, determination etched in her expression. I'm coming with you, she said. I can't let them treat us like we're nothing. I'll bring my neighbors to show them we're not going down without a fight. Jake felt a fire ignite within him. It was heartwarming to see others rallying, but fear clawed at him. How many families like Lily's were at stake? How many others would they fail if they didn't act fast? Great, let us coordinate. We'll go in groups to the homes they show up at. Use our phones to call each other. Keep everyone informed. As they mobilized, Jake noticed Ryan pacing nearby, a deep furrow in his brow. What's wrong? Jake asked, concern rising in his chest. I was thinking. Ryan hesitated. What if we're not the only ones fighting back? We need to find other groups who care. The more people we gather, the louder we become. They need to see us as more than paperwork. We have voices. Jake nodded. You're right. We'll reach out to local organizations, maybe even get media involved. We need everyone, friends, family, the community. If they see our numbers, they'll know they can't take us down so easily. Just then, Mark raised his phone. I've got the addresses for the homes affected. Let us split into teams and hit them all at once, make our presence known. The energy in the room was electric. They had the will, and now they had a plan. Jake felt hope blooming amidst the chaos. As everyone quickly assembled, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of something much larger. The community was rallying. Families were standing up for one another. But before they could leave, Mark's phone buzzed again, this time with a different urgency. He glanced at the screen, eyes widening. It's not just one family, there's an entire cluster, all networked. They're sending workers to the community center next. We're being targeted next. Shock swept over the group. Then we need to act fast. Jake shouted, adrenaline surging again. We show them that they can't intimidate us. As they rushed to organize their efforts, Jake realized this was becoming bigger than he ever imagined. This was a fight for every family, every vulnerable voice. As they prepared to head out, a troubling thought flashed in his mind. Were they prepared for whatever was waiting for them? Were they ready to confront a system that didn't care? The moment of truth was approaching, and Jake knew things were about to get intense. What would happen if they actually confronted the social workers? Would they have the strength to stand their ground? In defense of their families and each other, they were about to find out. As the crowd gathered outside the community center, energy buzzed in the air like static electricity. Jake looked around at the faces filled with determination and fear. Families were holding hands, their kids fidgeting but curious, eyes focused on the building that embodied their hopes. He could feel his heart quickening with every passing moment. Today wasn't just about the center. It was about the future of every family connected to it. Stay together. Jake called out to the crowd, his voice steady. We're not here to fight. We're here to show them who we are. Lily stood at his side, clutching her drawing of a big blue rocket ship, her favorite. Do you think they'll see us? She asked, her voice small but filled with resolve. They will, Jake assured, because we're all together today. He knelt to her level, the pride swelling in his heart. If we show them that we care, that we're fighting for each other, it might just be enough. As they positioned themselves in front of the center, anxious whispers echoed through the group. Jake felt the sense of urgency rising again. They had to make their presence known. Ava joined him, a determined gleam in her eye. You've got this, Jake. Just speak from your heart, she said, offering him a warm, steadying smile. Just then, a commotion rippled through the crowd as the social workers arrived, their faces set with a mix of indifference and resolve. Jake stood tall, every muscle fiber screaming for action. The weight of this moment pressed heavily on him, but he would not let that deter him. Listen, he shouted, amplifying his voice to reach the newcomers. We're not just numbers or cases. We are families. We are the heart of this community. This center isn't just a building, it's our lifeline. The workers glanced at each other, taken aback by the fervor of the crowd. Jake seized the moment, stepping out further into the forefront, locking eyes with the head social worker, who exuded an air of authority. You're here to take our children from families who care for them. But we've got each other. And we won't let fear decide our futures. His words ignited a spark in the crowd, and they erupted into cheers, creating a wave of support that rocked the very ground beneath them. Jake felt the strength in the voices surrounding him. They were all shouting together, unified. Please understand, he continued, his voice trembling with sincerity. Taking children from their homes doesn't solve problems. Creates more pain. Families like Lily's are fighting every single day to make ends meet. We need your support, not your judgment. The worker's gaze shifted. Jake could see doubt flickering behind her initially stoic demeanor. But just as he thought he was starting to make a dent, her rigid stance returned. We're just doing our job, she said, the practiced nature of her response stark against the raw emotion of the moment. No, Lily shouted, stepping forward, her small frame bold. You're supposed to help. I'm just a kid and I know that. Don't you see how scared we all are? The crowd hushed, every eye focused on her. For a heartbeat, silence reigned, and then a wave of emotion washed over Jake. This brave little girl represented everything they were fighting for. Would her bravery be enough? As a murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, Jake realized they were stirring something deeper now. The connection between families, their struggles, and the fight for every child's right to a safe home became palpable. He stepped beside Lily, holding her small hand. Let us show you how strong we are together. We have a community, and we're ready to partner with you. Instead of separating families, Let us build a network of support that is inclusive. He turned back to the workers, every syllable laced with raw honesty. It's time to put down walls and create bridges. The head social worker hesitated, a flicker of understanding dawning in her eyes. Behind her, other social workers glanced at each other, uncertainty creeping in. This was no longer just a procedural task. They were faced with real humanity. As Jake continued to speak from his heart, his words a rallying cry, the crowd echoed their agreement. This is our home, and we deserve to be supported. The workers shuffled uncomfortably, visibly shaken by the power of the united front they were facing. Suddenly, a member of the board stepped forward, surprisingly courageous. We stand with them, she declared, surprising the group. We want to create a framework of partnership so no family faces this alone again. It's time to reevaluate how we support our community. A bluebird of hope soared through Jake's chest. Could this truly work? As the workers exchanged words, emotion rippled through the crowd. People shifted forward, mothers and fathers stepping up, their arms wrapped protectively around their children. Unwavering, Jake held his breath, waiting, hoping this moment, this collective power of love, could change everything. Moments felt like hours as the workers deliberated. Finally, the head social worker took a deep breath, breaking through the tension. Let us set up a meeting to discuss how we can begin to collaborate. A cheer erupted louder than ever, shaking the ground beneath them. Jake grinned, joy coursing like electricity through his veins. Families weren't just numbers anymore. They were connections bound together by love and unwavering spirit. As the weight of their victory settled, Jake felt Lily squeeze his hand. He turned to her, tears of joy pooling in his eyes. You did it, kiddo. We did it, he beamed, knowing this was just the beginning. Ava stepped closer, pride lighting her face. You found your voice, Jake. We all did. With hope flaring like a bright morning sun, he looked at the faces surrounding him, their determination shining brighter than any obstacle. They were a community, one that could rise together, and he was ready to lead them forward. In that moment, everything shifted. Jake's journey wasn't just about fighting against odds. It was about nurturing a future built on love, unity, and hope. They wouldn't just thrive, they would soar. As the crowd cheered and celebrated around him, Jake knew he had found his family, his place. Oh, what joy it would bring to Lily to see her dream of a galaxy of possibilities come to life. This is where they belonged. And in the heartbeat of that moment, Jake made a silent promise to everyone gathered he would never stop fighting for them, for the families intertwined like vibrant threads in the beautiful tapestry of life. Now, they were all stars. Everyone reading this incredible story, it's your moment to join this journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Those flames of hope continue to burn bright. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the stories flowing. Comment below and share your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand how important it is to support the channel through these actions. Let us rise together.